something like this. See, you have one or more buttons that gets popped up on your screen. Okay, so whenever you click that, you will also get a few more floating action buttons that gets popped up. Okay, so basically these are like you see them as something like action buttons that are happening, like they are floating up some action. That's why they got the name as floating action button. Okay, so these are like more comfortable, and then they give like more appealing, right? So today we will be working on like the floating action buttons. Okay, so usually whenever we see any button, okay, so usually we'll be clicking it, or by default we'll be pressing it. So whenever we do that, usually a button will be in different states. It has like normal, focused, disabled, pressed, on or off buttons. Okay, so on or off state. So what is normal state is that is like whenever the button is created, it usually be in a normal state. Okay, and when you are about to like click it, or about to like press it, you the button will be in a focused state. Okay, so whenever you are trying to put your mouse onto that button, so it goes to the focus state, and whenever you are clicking it, it will be in a pressed state, or sometimes it will be in a on state. So if you have a, like switch buttons or toggle buttons, we will have on off states. So in that case, whenever we are clicking that button, so post the clicking, you will have the on state. And if you release it off, then it will be in off state, and it will be in a disabled state. So these are the different states that in which the buttons will be. And also visually, when you see, there are some raised buttons. So raised buttons in the sense, whenever you look a button, it feels that it is popped up from the screen. So something like floating action buttons. And then you will see flat buttons, which is like flat with the GUI. So you will not identify whether it is a button or not, like that. And you have clip arts. You can add like the clip arts that are available. So that will be like creating, I mean, that will be like making you like add some clip arts to your buttons. Even you can add images, and then you can add, these are like clip arts, and this is like text you can add to the buttons. Okay, so these are the different forms of the buttons. Okay, so usually whenever you are clicking a button, we'll be adding this on click listener. So there are two ways in which you can do. Either you can find view of the button, and then to that button you can add the click listener, or directly you can give an on click method in the button, and you can directly write a method called send message. So you can like on create, you can directly write a message called send message. So that way also you can write it. Okay, so whenever we talk about like floating action buttons, they are like raised, which usually will be in a circular, and floats above the layout. Okay, so these are primarily used for action that can be done on a screen. Okay, so usually we say floating action button can be one per screen, but you can add up like more things. I mean, if you need more floating buttons in a single page, also you can do that. So I'll tell you how we can do that. So in order to work with the floating action buttons, so basically this is a concept that was given by the material designing. So where they have created a predefined actions related to the floating action button. So you need to implement this in the Gradle. So we have to write this line of statement in the Gradle in order to make your floating action button visible, because these are the add-ons that were created at the later part. So they are not available with the Android. So that's the reason what we need to do is we need to add the implementation of these floating action buttons So in order to get that, you need to get the support for the material design, which will help in creating these floating action buttons. Okay. So once we create that, we will be creating the floating action button. So to that ID, layout, and then margin, source, all these properties we will be giving in for the floating action buttons. Okay. So first step, what we will be doing is we will be including this in the Gradle. Second step, we will be creating the floating action button. So to that floating action button, you need to add the images. So you need to add the images. So in the resources on the drawable, you need to click on right click and then you need to go with add image asset. So where you have to choose like action bar or tab item. So from that we will be choosing the clip art. So whichever is suited, so you can do that and you can select that. Okay. And then once you do the thing, so how do you work with the floating action button is like first we'll be adding the dependency for the material design and then we will be creating a layout for the floating action buttons in the activity.main file. Then we have to create the images and finally we will be like working with the main activity.java file where you will be working on the floating action button. Okay, so these are the steps that you need to follow when you are working with the floating action button. Okay, so let me quickly show you a practical on that. So let me create a new project. So floating action button demo. Okay, so it's ready. The first thing what you need to do is like, as I told you need to check for the Gradle. Okay, so it's still loading. So in the Gradle, you have to add the dependency for the material design. Okay, so this is ready now. So in the Gradle, you have like build Gradle for project and build Gradle for module. Okay, so you need to open this build Gradle for the module. So if you scroll down, you will see all the dependencies that are needed for your project to execute. Okay, so by default with the latest version, you are already having this dependency. So I don't need to add it again. If you are not having this, so make sure that you will be adding this dependency in your project. So this was the last time's dependency. So the latest one that is available is this. Okay, so you need to make sure you are adding that dependency. I'm just saving it so that later when you execute, you may be needing this, or else just a second, it's just 1.3. Okay, so this is the version that you need to have. So you need to check whether you are having this in the dependencies part. So you need to check in the Gradle build. There you need to check if this is available or not. Okay. So now as it is available, so we doesn't have to do anything. Okay. So now we'll be hmm, going to the activity main file. Okay. Anyways, the project is done. So okay. So here, if you need the floating action button, so usually you will not see the floating action button. Okay, if it is if you add the dependency, then only you will see the floating action buttons. But by default, you will not get the floating action buttons if you are working with other versions. But by default, the latest version is having it, or else I have earlier added the dependency. Might be that's the reason it is visible here. So check in your versions whether if you are not having this floating action button, then you need to add the dependency, and then you need to fill the floating action button. Okay. So one thing what you can do is you can directly drag like this. Okay, and where it will be asking all the assets. So whatever you want to do. Okay, so all the things will be available here. Okay, so or else you can also do it from the layouts from the code part. Okay, so doing with code is better for the floating action button. So here go to this text view. So I need a floating action button. Just press left symbol and then floating action. So automatically your floating action button will be popped up. Okay, so just click on enter. So I just want to wrap it. I don't want a big floating action button. I just need a wrap it. Okay, and then I'll be closing this floating action button. Okay, so if you see here, you will be getting some kind of error. So if you click on it, it will say like suppress missing constraint. So I just want to, for the time being, I want to suppress. So when I add the items, it automatically gets the details. So I'm clicking on that so that the errors are like suppressed for the time being. So this is the floating action button that it has been created. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to pull it down. So I'm adding it here. Okay, so to this now we need to add the images or the clip arts, right? So in order to add the clip art or the images, so what you need to do is go to the applications, click on the resources, on the drawable, right click. Okay, so there, because the drawable is the one which will hold all the images, right? So here click on new, there will be an image asset. Okay, so you can select that image asset. So from the image assets, so you need to choose action bars and tab icons, because these are floating action buttons, right? So they represent action. So you need to choose these action bars or tab icons. Click on that. Okay, so what art you want to choose, you can click on the clip art. So whatever the buttons that are available usually pops up. So it's taking little time. Okay, so these are all the action buttons. Let's say for the time being I'm using this plus, so that whenever I click it, I'll get some set of options again. Okay, so I'm clicking on plus and then click next. So I'm any DPI, so I want to put it in any DPI so that it will support all the DPIs. So click on that and then click finish. Okay, so now there is an image asset in the drawable which can be used for our purpose. So to this I want to set that image. So in order to set that image, you need to update it in the source. So click on this. Okay, so you got the button that we have added. So directly click on that. Earlier, if you want to directly add a floating action button from the design, it was expecting these inputs, right? So initially, if you add all the images and then directly drag drop, you can get the image as well. Okay. So I'm adding this button. So if you see the design part, so the plus has been added to this floating action button. Okay. So what I'll try to do is, see, when we click this button, it should say a toast message saying FAB is clicked or something like that. Okay. So to this button, I want to give the name. So I'll be giving the ID as floating action button 1. Okay. So we'll just see how this works. Then we can work on adding more buttons. So let's say I'm using this floating action button. Floating action button FAB1. Okay. So the same way as buttons that we find, we will find the view of it. So is equal to find view by ID r.id.fab1. So we gave the same name. So whenever that button is clicked, we want to just display the thing. So fab1.set on click listener. Okay, so new on click listener. So here, whenever it's clicked, I just doesn't want to do anything, just simply a toast message that I want to show. Okay, so get application context. FAB1 is selected. And then I want to toast it for a time. So toast dot length long, and entirely this I'll be showing it. Okay. Okay, so this is how if you have a simple floating action button, you'll be using it as a normal button itself. Only thing you need to do is like you need to check with the dependency. Okay. So once we do this, we will add up, like once we press it, you need to get like 2 or 3 more buttons that needs to be popped up. So that also will do it. Let us see first whether this is working or not. So later it's like whenever we click that button, let's say for example in contacts, whenever we work with contacts, what do we have? Whenever we click on plus, it should ask for the name and then the phone number, and once you click save, it has to go back to the contact and add one more contact in your contact list. So basically for that kind of works, we will be using this floating action button. So whenever we are clicking that, it is doing some kind of action. So that's the reason these got the floating action button as the names. Okay. So it's loading. Mm-hmm. So as is the first time I'm running, might be it's giving the error. It's getting slow. Okay, so meanwhile we'll write the logic if the Gradle is running. Okay, so let's say the next thing what we would like to do is like I want to add, like when I click this plus button, I need to get like 1, 2, 3 buttons, okay, in a design kind of. And when I click that button, I need to do some kind of operation, okay. So this plus button should list 3 more buttons, and when I click that button, I should be getting the I should be doing some kind of action. So as we need like more resources, let's say three, when we click this plus button, I need 3 more assets. So I'll just add them in the image asset. Okay, so I would be needing, let's say one alarm we'll keep, one music we'll keep, and then something else interesting we'll try to keep, include it. Hmm. It's taking too much time. Or else we'll try to use the ones which are already existing. It got stuck. Hook. Let's see if the other one is. Okay, let us take any existing things that are there. So let's say I'll add one button which is like maximizing. Okay, so I'm keeping this here. Let's say we'll add one more button. So just alarm we'll select. Okay, and then one more button. Okay, something. Okay, so these are the three buttons, right? So here what logic I want to do is like in the beginning these three I doesn't want to see them, but when I click this button then I want these to be visible, and then whenever these buttons are clicked I just want to say which button is clicked or something like that. Okay, so let us make all of them constrained. Okay, so I have given the constraint. So in the XML part, okay, so go to the code. So initially, if you see, this is the plus button. So the rest of the three buttons, you are getting them. Okay. So what I want to do is like, except the first one, all the others should be like invisible in the first time. Okay. So I want to do that. So for that reason, except the first one, what I'll try to do is Android colon visible visibility. I'll be setting it as invisible in the first time. So similarly, I'll also do the same thing. Android colon visibility. I'll be setting it as invisible. So in the beginning, I just doesn't want them to be displayed. So Android column visibility as invisible. Okay, so if you see the design part, so here only one button is visible, the rest of the three buttons we are making them as invisible. So whenever the button is clicked, so in that case only I want to make these three buttons as visible. So in that case what you need to do, so here so we'll find out all the views. So FAB2 is equal to find view by ID dot ID dot, I think it's floating action button. Hmm. So ID dot floating action button one. So similarly find the views of the other one, other two as well. So irritating today. And then FP3, this is your one, this is your second button. So this is okay. So whenever we are clicking this, okay, so what I want to do is FAB2 dot set visibility. I want to set the visibility as true. So set Now it's good. Two we didn't initialize. So this is such a simple experiment which can be done in very less time. This is taking too much time. And this is 3. Okay, so here dot set visibility. So we'll be setting it as visible. Clearly all the 3 buttons we want to make them as visible. 4 we are making them visible. Okay, so once we click it, these 3 buttons are coming. So once the 3 buttons are visible, what I want to do is like I want to click on them. So I'll be adding 2 dots set on click listener. So new on click listener. So we'll just display a toast message, make text. So here we'll say FAB2 selected. Alright, and similarly we'll be doing it for FAB3 and FAB4. So FAB, and this is FAB4 is selected. Okay, so this is what we wanted to do. So let me execute this. Okay, 1 second. So let us keep this little high because it's going beyond my screen. So let us first remove this. Okay, so now I got the button. So is the screen visible? Okay. Okay, so here we got the button. So when I'm clicking this button, So we got the 3 more buttons. So later once you click again, let's say you want to remove those buttons. So for that also we can write the logic. And let's say if you are clicking any specific button, based on it, it's just executing the things. Okay. So now usually what happens is like once you click this button, you want to make this as disabled as well. So in that case, you can write one more logic to it. So making it like we will take one variable like flag, which is set to initially 0. Okay, so here what I'll try to do is, so if the button is clicked, okay, so I'll make it as flag as 1. Okay, so and then if the flag is what we'll do, if flag is equal to 0, in that case we will be doing all this display option. Okay, so here we will be displaying everything. Okay, and then once it is displaying, finally what we will do is like we will make the flag as 0, flag as 1, so that flag is equal to 1, or else we'll write a if condition. So if flag is equal to 0, I want to do this. So if, or else, if it is else. So in that case, what we need to do, we have to make these floating action buttons as invisible. That's it. So copy that and then just paste it here. So make it as invisible. Okay. So let's execute this console. So for the first time when I execute, it's taking a little time, but then later on, once the Gradle is synced, we are getting the result a little faster. Okay, so okay, so this is the floating action button. So when I'm pressing it, I'm getting the things. So when I press this again, so it's not working. So some logic went wrong. Let me see. So what did we mean? If the flag is equal to 0, so we want to make it as visible. Yeah, so here we need to reset the flag is equal to 1 so that the else case will execute for the next time, right? Okay, so I got the button. So when I'm clicking on it, so I'm getting it. Yeah, is this the one that loaded? Just a second. Okay, let me try one more time. Yeah, now it's working. So here it's the button. So when I'm clicking it, oh Baba. Yeah. So when we are making it as invisible, again the flag needs to be set to 0, right? Yeah. Sometimes simple things. Okay, so hopefully this will work now. So when I'm clicking, the buttons are coming up. When I click it, they are going off. Okay, so and then if you want to press on anything, You can get that. If you click on this, they'll go off. Okay, so this is how you'll be working with the floating action buttons. So in the next classes, we'll be looking into like the toggle buttons, the switch cases, and later on we will move ahead working with the date pickers, time pickers. So different user interface, the components we'll be looking in the further classes. So we'll be concentrating more on different UIs, the list views, so the layout part. So we'll be looking all of them. Okay, so in the upcoming classes. So hope it was okay. So sorry for the delay and then the loading time. So hope you understand this. So you try creating like something like once if the flow once we are clicking, we are getting three buttons, right? If you click something, you set some text in some field, or try to like make some music, or may try to like display some image. So you can explore like whenever you click that button, it has to do some certain action. Okay, so here I just displayed the toast message, right? So there you can write your own logics. So if that button is clicked, what should I do? So all these things you can replace them, and then you can try working on them. Okay, so that's a simple operations and very important though. And then it's like more appealing, and it gives you a good design interfacing, right? So that's all about like floating action button. So hope you understood. Those who got it, just raise your hands quickly so that we can end up the meeting. Okay. Okay, then pretty well. Then we'll meet up in the next class. Okay, so thanks for your time. Bye.